We are Anonymous, the underground network dedicated to exposing global military and security operations, shedding light on what lies behind headlines. What you are about to hear is a reconstruction, in spoken style, of how what appeared to be a large-scale immigration sweep in Chicago turned into a war zone-style cartel takedown, and how the front line in our cities is no longer just patrolling streets, but staging operations. The last words he spoke to me were trembling. "Please, sir, save Chicago. We are going to do that. We are going to save Chicago from horrible crime." He believed something dreadful was creeping in, and he was not wrong. Before dawn, the streets of Chicago lay silent under fog, until the roar of engines shattered that stillness. At 5:30 in the morning, federal agents moved in. Flashing blue and red lights cut through darkness as tactical teams from ICE, backed by Chicagopolice and the Department of Homeland Security, surrounded rows of aging houses in Little Village, Cicero and Joliet. Doors were shattered. Agents shouted, "Federal warrant. Hands up." Families froze, realizing this was no routine patrol. It was the beginning of an operation called Operation Midwayblitz, a massive crackdown ordered by Homeland Security after weeks of violent crime tied to illegal migration across the Midwest. "All of these cities, we want to clean them," one agent said. Within just 2 weeks, more than 550 suspects were arrested. Men and women from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Some had long criminal records. Others had just arrived. As dawn broke over Chicago, one thing became clear. This was no ordinary immigration sweep. It was the opening move of a war to reclaim the city's streets. Would you back a raid like this to keep your neighborhood safe? Type yes if you stand with law enforcement. Type no if you think it has gone too far. By midday, the evidence told a darker story. Inside dozens of homes across the South Side, agents uncovered arsenals of weapons and narcotics, over 180 pounds of methamphetamine, 62 kilos of cocaine, and boxes of handguns, shotguns, and AR-15 rifles, each wrapped in plastic marked with Mexican shipping codes. What had begun as an immigration sweep had uncovered a battlefield. At the command post near Midway Airport, evidence piled high, laptops still logged in, phones buzzing with unread messages, and envelopes thick with cash. In one house, a wall built 2 feet, thicker than normal, hid 4 money counters, 3 fake passports, and a tablet streaming an encrypted chat in Spanish. The messages were short and cold. Shipment confirmed. Payment cleared. Analysts traced the trail from Jalisco, Mexico through Texas and Missouri, ending at warehouses on Chicago's South Side. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, had infiltrated the Midwest. Illegal migration was not just human flow. It was camouflage. Their orders were simple. Move money, move drugs, stay invisible. Within the hour, Homeland Security raised the threat level to Code Amber. Tactical teams were placed on 24-hour standby. FBI cyber units began tracing burner phone signals, while Border Patrol linked them to safe houses in Laredo and Monterey. By dawn, 5 coordinates flashed red on the operations map: warehouses, garages, a railside compound near Bridgeview. Every transfer, every phone ping pointed the same way. No one slept. SWAT medics checked their kits. Helicopter crews ran silent tests over the fog. Inside the command room, a single message arrived from Washington. "Prepare for simultaneous strikes." Agents exchanged no words. They did not need to. The investigation was over. The assault was about to begin. Would you ever imagine that illegal migration could hide a cartel network this big? Share this story if you believe America needs stronger border intelligence. At 3:42 in the morning, the command center in Chicago was silent, except for the ticking clock and the faint hum of servers. Dozens of red markers blinked on the digital map. 5 targets, 5 teams. A message appeared on the encrypted terminal. All units execute. The city's sleeping skyline glowed under a thick curtain of fog. ICE tactical teams, DEA special ops, FBI hostage rescue, and Chicago SWAT surged into motion. Convoys of armored vehicles rolled down wet, industrial streets near Cicero and Bridgeview, tires hissing over asphalt glistening from rain. Above them, a DHS helicopter circled low, its infrared cameras painting ghostly silhouettes on rooftops. At the first target, agents stacked along a steel door. Boom! A flashbang tore through the silence, followed by a storm of boots and shouts. Breach, breach, echoed across the comms. Inside, chemical vapors burned the air. Barrels stamped Producto de Mexico leaked fluorescent liquid across concrete. CJNG gunmen opened fire from a catwalk above. Automatic bursts slicing through the haze. Agents fired back with surgical precision. Muzzle flashes lit up the rafters like lightning. In 40 seconds, 2 hostiles were down, 3 more cuffed, and the site was secure. Across town at the Midway rail yards, another team moved room by room through a safe house. Explosions shattered the silence. They found bulletproof vests, encrypted radios, and boxes of fentanyl pills disguised as candy. A hidden tunnel led to a van fitted with false panels for long-distance smuggling. In the command center, the digital map glowed with 5 red dots, blinking in rhythm. Every strike team reported in. Echo 1 clear. Bravo 2 advancing. Target 4 heavy resistance. That resistance came at Brighton Park, where agents faced a fortified chamber of steel and concrete. CJNG enforcers fought back with military coordination. Grenades rolled across the floor. One detonated near the entry, sending shockwaves through the stairwell. A SWAT medic dragged a wounded agent to safety, while others pressed forward, clearing corners with controlled bursts. When the dust settled, the numbers told the story. 4.3 tons of narcotics seized, 37 firearms recovered, including 2 grenade launchers, and 15 suspects captured alive. 0 civilians were harmed. Target secured. Proceed with extraction. As dawn broke, armored trucks rolled back toward headquarters. Mud-splattered windows cracked, but victorious. Steam rose from the streets, mixing with the scent of smoke and rain. Chicago was wounded, but breathing again. For the men and women of Operation Midway Blitz, one message stood out. America was no longer reacting. It was striking first. Should the United States use military-style tactics on domestic soil against cartels? Yes or no? Subscribe if you stand with those who risk their lives in the line of fire. By sunrise, the gunfire had faded, but the real war had just begun. The streets of Cicero, Bridgeview, and Brighton Park still smelled of smoke and chemicals. Inside the command center near Midway Airport, screens flickered with live drone feeds, surveillance replays, and evidence lists stretching for miles. Agents were exhausted but relentless. Every phone, laptop, and ledger became part of a larger puzzle. What they struck that night was not just a drug lab. It was a fully operational criminal infrastructure built to blend into everyday America. The CJNG network had built a shadow economy inside Chicago, hiding behind fake identities and legitimate businesses. They used illegal migration as camouflage, moving cartel couriers alongside families, students and asylum seekers. ICE analysts traced hundreds of digital transactions, from shell companies registered under fake storefronts, auto shops, trucking depots, tire stores, even laundromats that had not washed a single shirt in years. These small operations moved cash in quiet loops, 50,000 here, 80,000 there, funneled through wire transfers to Guadalajara, Mexico City, and Panama City. For every 5 migrants processed in the region, one had direct or indirect contact with a cartel-linked employer. Some were paid in cash to drive shipments, others used as lookouts, and a few simply disappeared. It was a system engineered for invisibility, crime hidden inside chaos. At a forensic briefing, one investigator said plainly, they did not just enter illegally. They are embedded. They adapted. They became ghosts in the system. Yet against that level of deception, the United States response was surgical. FBI cyber units cracked encrypted devices within hours. Homeland Security froze accounts across 7 states, seizing nearly $12 million in assets. DEA chemists identified lab compounds, matching fentanyl batches seized in Texas, proving a direct logistical link from Jalisco to the Midwest. Drones with thermal scanners swept industrial zones at night, revealing hidden compartments inside refrigerated trucks. In one chilling discovery, a semi-truck parked near Joliet carried false cargo panels filled with weapon parts and pill presses. The driver, a 19-year-old undocumented migrant, confessed he never knew what was inside. He had been promised $500 and a work visa. Each revelation cut deeper, showing how the cartel exploited desperation as a weapon. It was not just about drugs. It was human logistics fused with narcotics warfare, reaching into schools, factories, and churches. By week's end, 98 suspects were in custody, 12 confirmed CJNG operatives facing federal charges. ICE and FBI issued over 60 warrants across Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. The evidence room overflowed, with crates labeled Operation Midway, Blitz Phase 2. Every move, every raid, every target struck with precision. For the first time in years, the balance was shifting. The cartels had infiltrated American soil, but now America was inside their system too. When the dust of war settled, protests rose outside the ICE headquarters in downtown Chicago. Hundreds gathered under gray skies, chanting, "Families, not felons." Activists claimed the raids swept up many with no criminal record. Church leaders sheltered frightened families. Immigration lawyers worked through the night to locate detainees. Critics said Midway Blitz symbolized fear-driven policy, a political show of force, more than strategy. But inside the command post, officials stood by their mission. They said the arrests exposed CJNG networks using illegal migration to smuggle drugs and weapons. "We find them before they find victims," said one spokesperson. Homeland Security confirmed the campaign would expand into Indiana, Missouri, and Wisconsin by late 2025. The controversy drew national headlines, dividing public opinion. Yet for the agents who led the raids, the mission stayed the same: to stop those who weaponized migration and chaos against the American people. Whether praised or condemned, Midway Blitz had already redrawn the map and reminded America that security always carries a cost. By the end of September, the operation had rewritten Chicago's map of crime: 98 arrests, 4.3 tons of narcotics seized, and millions in assets frozen. The city was quieter now, but intelligence units still tracked encrypted messages pulsing from Mexico, Texas, and the Midwest. Inside the command center, agents moved like soldiers. The air smelled of coffee and determination. They had seen too much to mistake calm for safety. In public, Homeland Security hailed the operation as a success, a model of interagency precision between ICE, DEA, FBI, and local police. For weeks, national headlines proved that America's heartland was not defenseless. This was more than an immigration mission. One official said it was the defense of a nation's integrity. Across Chicago, citizens began to notice fewer suspicious trucks, fewer overdoses. Still, no one doubted the enemy was regrouping. Analysts warned CJNG cells could shift routes through neighboring states, using new faces and fresh migrants to rebuild. In response, officials prepared for Phase 2, expanding Midway Blitz into Indiana, Missouri, and Wisconsin, combining border intelligence with cyber tracking and aerial surveillance. Drones would patrol freight corridors. Financial forensic teams would follow every dollar that crossed borders. One morning, as agents watched the sun rise over Lake Michigan, a quiet voice in the command room said, "We are not just guarding borders anymore. We are guarding what it means to be American." The city was scarred but stronger. The cartels had invaded with shadows and fear. America answered with precision, unity, and resolve. When the smoke cleared over Chicago, one truth remained. Operation Midway Blitz was not just a raid. It was a warning, a message to every criminal network that believed America's heartland was undefended. What began as an immigration sweep evolved into a fight for national survival, a reminder that borders do not end at the edge of the map. They live in every neighborhood, every factory, every family that believes in safety and law. For weeks, hundreds of agents from ICE, DEA, FBI, and local police worked side by side, risking their lives in hallways thick with fentanyl dust and gunfire. They did not act for politics. They acted for people, for the kids walking to school in Little Village, for the families who want to live without fear. Their courage proved something timeless. America's defenders are not made in speeches. They are forged in the silence before the breach. The lesson of Midway Blitz is simple but powerful. When law enforcement unites, evil runs out of places to hide. Illegal migration, organized crime, and cartel infiltration are not just border problems. They are battles fought inside our cities. In Chicago, those battles were met with precision, justice, and resolve that could only belong to the United States. As this story closes, one mission continues: to protect the homeland from threats seen and unseen. That mission depends not only on the agents in the field, but on people like you who believe justice is worth fighting for. We are anonymous. If you stand with those who wear the badge, if you believe America must never bow to fear, hit like, share this story, and comment below. Because silence protects the cartels, but your voice protects the truth. Together we keep the shield of America shining. USA, thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay informed, stay free.